Hello, huzzah! Welcome to DD214. A major event happened earlier this morning at approximately 1:28 Eastern Daylight Time on Tuesday, the 26th of March, 2024. A major piece of infrastructure was knocked down, that being the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And this is more than just a bridge. The entire Port of Baltimore is shut down indefinitely. I would expect it could take months to retrieve the wreckage, to clear the wreckage from the bottom, and to clear the channel back out so that merchant traffic can continue to go in and out of the Port of Baltimore. So I'm going to point out a couple of things here as we go. Let's take a look here. Just working my computer here a little bit. Try to get everything optimized. And here we go. So I'm starting at about 10 minutes before the disaster happened, and I'll back forward or fast forward. So we see here there's a roll-on, roll-off ship in Dundalk. Not sure which one that is. I haven't looked at the Vessel Finder or Ship Finder website to see which ship that is, but it definitely, by the shape of it, that's a roll-on, roll-off that's used to transport cars between various ports. So we'll go there. Let's advance a few minutes. Here we go. In a second, you're going to see the ship here. The motor vessel Polly, Singaporean flagged container ship. And this thing has literally several thousand containers on board. In the bow section, they use 20-foot equivalent units, and those are the shorter ones. The ones that you're more likely to see, the ones that get loaded onto the specialized trailers and towed by trucks from port to destination, those are 40-foot units, so they count as two 20-ton or 20-foot equivalent units. Just get it up here. See where the ship comes into view here. So now it's 1:22, and we see that there's traffic going over the bridge. There were, by the accounts so far, at least 7 construction workers. And those are the most likely all those yellow flashing lights, vehicles working on whatever they were working on with the bridge maintenance and everything. Now we see the ship coming. So that is the forward masthead light on the container ship. The aft masthead light is over the bridge on this particular ship. You see the green starboard running light, and the ship's in the channel. And in fact, my understanding was she was actually a little bit to the left of center of the channel. So looking good. You're on a straight course. There's no smoke or anything, which you'll see in a little bit, and I'll be interested to find out in the postmortem. Now she lost power, so 01:24 in about 32 seconds, the ship lost power, went dark. So presumably she's drifting now without any control. So Maybe the main engine died, maybe all the generators died. That remains to be seen, but it's not looking very good. And I've been several times in my naval career, I've been unfortunate enough to have experienced several hours of being dead in the water, or we like to say cold, dead, and quiet. And that's the thing, when you're on a ship, you have all the background noise. You got air conditioning running, you got machinery running, you got blowers. Now the power gets restored about a minute later, so they got the lights turned back on. So looks good. They should be able to continue. Now here's what is curious to me. Now I'm seeing all this black smoke coming out. And while I never actually served on a diesel powered ship, that should not be happening. That's not a correctly running engine. And that would be coming from their main engine or maybe some of their generators, because all the exhaust will go into a funnel, as we call it. And so there's multiple exhaust pipes coming out the top of the stack. So it could be from a generator that's malfunctioning, and then power got lost again. Although you still see the green running light, so that's good. You see some lighting. You see uh, forward mast, or yeah, you see the main mast headlight or the aft mast headlight. But now look at the aspect angle. As you can see, the ship is, for some reason, turning to starboard. Okay, they got the rest of the lights back on, it looks like, but continue to look. And from the location of this camera, shouldn't be able to see both of the running lights if the ship is going in this direction. But now you're starting to see the port running light or the red light. So at this point, it appears like the ship is turning directly into the pier that's holding up this bridge. And there you see it. You're almost not going to see any of the starboard side of the ship. And you see it continues, but this is really not a good look at this point. Not when the supporting structure of the bridge is directly between the bow of the ship and this perspective from the camera. And at this point, it is pointed directly at the bridge. Now watch these 20-foot equivalent units, the smaller containers that are on the bow. Gonna see a bunch of these fall in the water soon. Now we see that the ship's starting to come back to port, and there's where she hits. And now the lights are all crushed and everything. Containers go in the water, and here we are now. And that's what she's looking like right now. At some point, they apparently did drop the port anchor in an attempt to stop the ship. But it also appears that, and I don't believe that it's just the weight of the ship that's holding the ship, the bow of the ship down like this. In fact, earlier today, it wasn't that, it was a little bit higher, at least in some of the earlier shots that we saw during daybreak, or maybe not. But hitting that, I'm pretty sure ripped a huge hole in the side of the ship below the waterline, and so the ship's going to sink. And so my assessment, because channels are generally not much deeper than the ship's drafts or the drafts of the ships that use these channels, my educated assessment is that the ship is actually sunk right now, that the bow is resting on the bottom, that it flooded, and I don't think that the bridge or the weight of the bridge itself is what's holding that down, not on its own. So, well, I guess now we have a better view. I'm not sure if the smoke was coming. Not sure if the smoke was coming through this funnel, which would have been for the main engine, or through here, which it's running. Obviously, you can see that there's smoke, so that's the exhaust for at least one of the diesel generators. So they have electrical power on the ship. And then just look at how high the stern's sitting up. There's all those 20-foot units that got toppled over. A bunch of them ended up in the water. And this is a really bad day. We have one of the biggest ports on the East Coast completely shut down for who knows how long. All those containers on the pier, they're stuck there. The ships that are in the port, they're stuck there. The ships that are in the Chesapeake Bay at anchor, waiting for their turn to come in, well, they might as well weigh anchor and turn around because they're going to have to go somewhere else, like Norfolk or maybe Jacksonville, but they'll have to go somewhere else to offload their cargo. And of course, they're going to want to do that because a ship that's not moving and transporting cargo is wasting money. And that's all I have to say about this. It's a really bad day. There's going to be economic impacts, I'm sure. This could take many months to get the port reopened, and that means all the people who work in the port, the crane operators, the people doing the loading, truck drivers, a lot of people just lost their jobs. They got their, if they haven't been officially laid off yet, they'll be laid off pretty soon. So just a terrible situation. I'm also sure Wall Street will take a bit of a drop over this. It's like the situation with San Pedro out in California when they were having trouble restarting operations after COVID, and all those ships were backed up, and there was a huge choke point there. I think we're going to see more of that. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I certainly offer my condolences to anyone who may have been killed in this disaster. I know as of earlier this morning, they had rescued 2 people, one in serious condition, but there may very well be some fatalities in this because, like I said, there was work going on up until shortly before the disaster happened. There were at least 1 or 2 semi trucks going over the bridge. There was vehicular traffic, but I mean, imagine how bad this could have been during rush hour or any time during the workday. That it happened in the middle of the night when traffic is typically light is I don't know if it's a silver lining, but it's the closest thing I could think of to a silver lining was the time of day that it happened. Because the ship breaking down and having these mechanical problems, these engineering casualties, as we called them in the Navy, it wouldn't have mattered the time of day, except for the currents, maybe. So that's all I have to say about this, and thank you for listening.